In the heart of Africa, where the sun kisses the earth with a golden glow and the baobab trees whisper ancient secrets, there once reigned a king named Oba Kanjira. His kingdom, Alife, was a land of abundance, blessed with fertile soil, shimmering rivers, and hills heavy with precious stones. The people were joyful and hardworking, their laughter echoing through the vibrant markets. But a shadow loomed over this paradise, and that shadow was the king himself. Oba Kanjira was not born wicked. He was molded by an insatiable hunger, a greed that gnawed at his soul like a relentless termite. In his youth, he saw the wealth of his father, the former king, and instead of seeing a resource to nurture his people, he saw only a treasure to be hoarded. When the crown was placed upon his head, the darkness in his heart began to spread like a wildfire. His first decree was to triple the taxes. The farmers who toiled under the scorching sun had to give away most of their harvest. The artisans who wove intricate Kent cloths and carved beautiful sculptures found their profits seized. The once bustling markets grew quiet, the vibrant colors fading into shades of gray. The people's joyous songs were replaced by whispered murmurs of hardship. Kanjira's palace, once a symbol of the kingdom's prosperity, became a fortress of avarice. He built a new treasury, a massive vault deep beneath the earth, where he spent his days counting his gold coins, his fingers tracing the cold, hard metal. He adorned himself in layers of gold chains and rings, so heavy he could barely walk. His robes were woven with threads of pure gold, and his food was served on golden plates. Yet, he was never satisfied. His eyes, once bright with youthful ambition, were now cold and empty, reflecting only the glitter of his hoard. The king's wickedness was not limited to his greed. He was a man devoid of empathy. One year, a great drought fell upon the land. The rivers ran dry, the crops withered, and famine stalked the villages like a hungry lion. The elders of the kingdom, their faces etched with worry, came to the palace to plead with the king. They begged him to open the royal granaries, which were overflowing with grain from previous bountiful harvests. Oba Kanjira sat upon his golden throne, listening with a sneer. "Why should I share my grain?" he bellowed, his voice echoing in the cavernous hall. "Did I not store this for myself? If you are hungry, find your own food. The lazy deserve to starve." He dismissed the elders, their hearts heavy with despair. As the people grew weaker, the king grew fatter. He feasted on roasted yams, pepper soup, and succulent meats, while his subjects chewed on dried roots and prayed for rain. Children with swollen bellies and hollow eyes would stare at the palace walls, smelling the tantalizing aromas of the king's feasts, a cruel reminder of their own gnawing hunger. The king's guards, well-fed and loyal only to his gold, patrolled the palace, ensuring no desperate soul could get near the king's bounty. The king's greed also fueled his cruelty. He coveted the ancestral land of a neighboring, smaller village. This land was sacred, holding the graves of their ancestors and a grove of ancient, medicinal trees. When the village chief refused to sell the land, Kanjira's rage was fearsome. He sent his army, not to negotiate, but to conquer. The village was burned to the ground. Those who resisted were cut down, and the survivors were forced to flee, leaving their heritage in the greedy king's hands. Kanjira walked through the smoldering ruins, a triumphant smile on his face, already planning how he would strip the land of its resources. But as the proverb says, the pot that is cooking will surely get its share of the heat. The king's cruelty and greed had not gone unnoticed by the spirits of the land. His actions had created a deep imbalance, a wound in the heart of Alife. The ancestors were displeased, and nature itself began to rebel. It started subtly. The gold in Kanjira's treasury began to lose its luster, turning a dull, sickly brown. The precious gems he adored felt cold and lifeless in his hands. He ordered his servants to polish them day and night, but the gleam would not return. This strange phenomenon only fueled his paranoia. He accused his servants of theft, his advisors of conspiracy. Executions became a daily spectacle in the palace courtyard. Fear, thick and suffocating, became the air that everyone in the kingdom breathed. Then, the king's personal torment began. He was haunted by nightmares. He dreamt of the starving children with their accusing eyes. He saw the faces of the villagers whose homes he had burned. He heard the cries of the elders he had dismissed. He would wake up screaming, drenched in a cold sweat, his heart pounding against his ribs. Sleep, the one escape he had, became his greatest terror. His insatiable hunger took a bizarre turn. No matter how much he ate, he felt a constant, gnawing emptiness in his stomach. He devoured mountains of food, but the hunger was never quenched. It was a spiritual hunger, a void created by his own greed, that no amount of physical food could ever fill. He grew thin and gaunt, his skin stretched tight over his bones, his eyes wild with a desperate craving. One day, a mysterious old woman, cloaked in rags, appeared at the palace gates. Her eyes held the wisdom of 1,000 years. The guards tried to turn her away, but she simply walked past them as if they were ghosts. She entered the throne room, where King Kanjira was raging, throwing golden goblets against the walls in a fit of frustration. "Oh, King Kanjira," she said, her voice calm yet powerful, cutting through his fury. "You have taken everything from the land and its people. Your belly is full, yet you are starving. Your treasury is full, yet you are poor. You have a kingdom, but you are a prisoner. Who are you to speak to me this way?" The king shrieked, his voice cracking. "Guards, seize her." But the guards stood frozen, unable to move. The old woman continued, "You have an incurable hunger, king. A hunger for what you cannot have, contentment. You have devoured the joy of your people, and now that same hunger will devour you." She pointed a bony finger at him. "Everything you touch will remind you of your greed. Your wealth will become your curse." With those words, she vanished, leaving behind only the scent of dry earth and ancient magic. From that day on, the curse took hold. Everything the king touched turned to dust. Not gold, as in the old fables, but worthless, common dust. He reached for a golden necklace, and it crumbled into a pile of gray powder in his hands. He tried to pick up a mango from his plate, and it disintegrated before he could bring it to his lips. His magnificent throne, the symbol of his power, collapsed into a mound of dust the moment he sat on it. Panic seized him. He was surrounded by immeasurable wealth, yet he could touch none of it. He was starving, but he could not eat. He was thirsty, but any cup he touched dissolved. He ran to his treasury, his last hope. As he threw open the heavy doors, a gust of wind blew from within, and he watched in horror as his entire hoard, the gold, the gems, the ivory, swirled into a massive cloud of dust that choked him, filled his lungs, and blinded his eyes. The people of Ile-Ife, hearing the commotion, gathered at the palace. They found their king lying on the floor of his empty treasury, gasping for air, his body covered in the very dust that was once his fortune. He was a pathetic, broken man, destroyed not by an invading army or a political plot, but by his own insatiable greed. His end was not a swift death, but a slow, agonizing realization of his folly. He had spent his life hoarding treasures, only to become the poorest man in the kingdom, with nothing left but regret. The reign of the greedy king served as a powerful lesson for the people of Ile-Ife and all who heard the tale. They rebuilt their kingdom, not on foundations of gold, but on principles of community, sharing, and respect for the land. They learned that true wealth is not what you can hoard in a vault, but what you can share with your neighbor. The laughter returned to the markets, the crops grew tall once more, and the kingdom of Ile-Ife flourished, forever remembering the king who was consumed by his own hunger. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more tales from the heart of Africa, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay blessed.